In a land filled with political intrigue and debate, there was an idea that stirred the hearts and minds of the people. It was an idea that questioned the very nature of government and the role of its leaders. This idea proposed that a strong and vigorous executive, a single leader, might be incompatible with the essence of a republican government. In this realm, there were those who fervently believed in the principles of republican government, and they could not easily accept the notion that a powerful executive could coexist with these ideals. They hoped with all their hearts that this idea was but a baseless supposition, for its acceptance would mean a condemnation of their own cherished beliefs. For them, energy in the executive was paramount, a defining characteristic of good governance. It was the shield that protected the nation from external threats, the steady hand that upheld the rule of law, the defender of property rights against those who sought to disrupt justice, and the guardian of liberty against the relentless onslaughts of ambition, faction, and anarchy. These wise individuals, well versed in the annals of history, knew that the Roman Republic had often sought refuge in the absolute power of a single leader, known as the dictator. They had witnessed how this measure had been necessary to thwart the designs of ambitious individuals, quell internal strife, and repel external threats that loomed menacingly over the great city of Rome. But they did not need to rely solely on ancient history to make their case. They argued that a feeble executive would lead to a feeble government, and a feeble government in practice was nothing but a bad government. So, with a shared conviction in the need for an energetic executive, they set out to explore what ingredients would constitute this energy and how they could be harmoniously combined with the principles of a republican government. They also sought to determine whether the proposed constitution, crafted by a convention, embodied this necessary combination. In their quest, they identified 4 vital ingredients for an energetic executive: unity, duration, adequate support, and competent powers. These elements were the pillars upon which a strong leader could stand to guide the nation through turbulent times. Conversely, they recognized 2 key ingredients for safety within a republic: a genuine dependence on the people and a system of accountability. These wise statesmen, drawing from the wisdom of history and their own principles, believed that a single executive and a numerous legislature were the best forms of government. They argued that energy was best embodied in a single leader, while deliberation and wisdom were the strengths of a larger legislative body, capable of securing the people's trust and preserving their rights. They asserted that unity was essential for energy. A single leader could decide swiftly, act with vigor, maintain secrecy, and execute decisions expeditiously. In contrast, the more individuals involved, the less these qualities were pronounced. However, they acknowledged that unity could be compromised in 2 ways, either by sharing power among multiple magistrates of equal authority, as in the case of Rome's 2 consuls, or by ostensibly vesting power in one leader while subjecting them, at least in part, to the control and advice of others. The latter was exemplified by the executive councils in several states, yet they found historical examples insufficient to provide a definitive answer to the dilemma. The experience of other nations provided little guidance, as it did not show any unique advantages derived from multiple executive magistrates. Despite their considerations, they argued against both the multiplication of executive magistrates and the formation of executive councils. They believed that such structures would inevitably lead to dissension, rivalry, and factionalism, which could hinder the government's efficiency and effectiveness. They also highlighted a grave concern: the concealment of faults and the erosion of accountability. In a system with multiple executives, it became challenging to assign blame or punishment for poor decisions or misconduct. Mutual accusations, shifting of responsibility, and ambiguity could cloud the truth, leaving the people in doubt about who was truly responsible for the government's failings. They cautioned against falling into the trap of favoring a plurality in the executive, arguing that it would only weaken the government's effectiveness and jeopardize liberty. They contended that responsibility could be best ensured when placed squarely on a single individual, watched closely, and held accountable by the people. In their view, a council could potentially act as a hindrance to a well-intentioned leader, a facilitator of their missteps, or even a cover for their faults. They stressed that in a republic, power must be transparent, and those who wield it must be individually responsible for their actions. They believed that, unlike in a monarchy where a council could serve as a check on the king's power, in a republic it would serve to diminish the intended and necessary responsibility of the chief magistrate. In the end, they concluded that the true security of the republic lay not in the multiplication of the executive, but in the clear and personal accountability of its leader. They rejected the idea that numbers could provide safety, asserting that in reality, a small group was more susceptible to manipulation and abuse than a single individual closely scrutinized by the people. Their wisdom was not in vain, for they knew that history had shown them the way. In their own state, they had seen how a unified executive, characterized by the singular authority of one leader, had been one of the cornerstones of their constitution. And with this conviction, they hoped to guide their young nation toward a future where the principles of liberty and good governance would stand firm against the tests of time and circumstance.